The rain hammered the cracked sidewalk like gunfire as Marcus Hale gripped the eviction notice in his meaty fist. Thunder cracked overhead, illuminating the face of the woman standing in the doorway, Latrice Evans, arms crossed, eyes burning with a fury that made even him pause. Behind her, her two young sons clutched her legs, staring out into the storm with wide, terrified eyes. "You have until dawn," Marcus snarled, voice cutting through the downpour. "Or I drag everything you own to the curb myself." Latrice didn't flinch. She stepped forward, rain soaking her braids, and whispered something so low the wind almost swallowed it. "You sure you want to do this, Mr. Hale?" He laughed, a wet, ugly sound. "This is my building. My rules. Get out." As he turned back toward his truck, Latrice's final words sliced through the storm like a blade. "Then you'll learn soon enough who really owns these walls." If stories of ruthless greed meeting cold, calculated justice hit you right in the chest, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications. Because what Marcus Hale was about to discover would shatter his entire world, and trust me, you don't want to miss how this ends. How far would you go to protect the roof over your children's heads? And what happens when the man trying to steal yours realizes, far too late, that he's been squatting in a house built entirely on his own lies? Marcus Hale was the kind of man who believed America rewarded the ruthless. Born in a rusty trailer park outside Gary, Indiana, in 1973, he grew up watching his father drink away factory paychecks and his mother scrub floors for minimum wage. By 17 he'd had enough, dropped out, got a union card, and started swinging a hammer on construction sites across the Midwest. He saved every overtime dollar, flipped his first condemned house in 2001, and rode the housing boom like a bronco. By 52, he owned 6 rental properties on Chicago's south and west sides. He wore the same uniform every day, steel-toe boots, faded jeans, a bull's cap pulled low. Tenants called him the Bulldog. Once he locked onto something, late rent, a leaky faucet complaint, a noisy neighbor, he never let go. The building on 63rd Street was his favorite. 6 units, red brick, built in 1928 when the neighborhood was still Irish and Polish. He bought it at a tax scavenger sale in 2010 for $180,000, half of what it was worth even then. Told himself he was saving it. Truth was, he squeezed every dime out of it. Heat set to the legal minimum in winter. No air conditioning in summer. Repairs done cheap and late. The Evans family moved into Unit 3A in 2018. Donnell Evans was a forklift driver at a cold storage warehouse in Cicero, 6 days a week, double shifts when overtime was offered. Latrice worked days as a certified nursing assistant at Stroger Hospital and nights cleaning office towers in the Loop. Their boys, Jamal and Malik, were 8 and 6, polite, quiet kids who played basketball in the alley with a rim Marcus had bolted to the garage himself. For 4 years, rent arrived on the 1st. Cash in an envelope slid under his office door. Donnell would nod respectfully when they passed in the hall. Then came February 2021. Donnell collapsed between pallets of frozen chicken. Massive heart attack. Dead before the ambulance reached the hospital. 41 years old. The bills came like an avalanche. Funeral, $12,000. Ambulance, $4,800. Hospital, $23,000. No life insurance. Donnell had let the policy lapse to cover Christmas that year. Latrice buried her husband on a gray Saturday. Marcus sent flowers. Cheap ones from Jewel Osco. Didn't attend the service. Rent was late for the first time in March. She came to his office in the basement of the building, still wearing her hospital scrubs, envelope in hand. "It's 4 days late. I can have the rest Friday." Marcus leaned back in his cracked leather chair. "Friday ain't the 1st. I just buried my husband, Mr. Hale. I'm sorry for your loss. Truly. But my mortgage doesn't care." She left with tears in her eyes. Paid the balance on Thursday. Second late payment came in July when Malik fell off his bike and shattered his wrist. Surgery, pins, therapy. Latrice missed shifts. Rent short by $312. She knocked again. I'm picking up extra nights downtown. I'll have it next week. Marcus took the partial payment. Next week's not good enough anymore. Third time was November. Her Corolla threw a rod on the Dan Ryan. Repair bill, $2,800. She paid what she could, $900 short. That was all Marcus needed. He printed the eviction notice himself. Used the chronic lateness addendum his lawyer had buried in every lease. In Illinois, 3 late payments in 12 months was grounds for termination without court if you worded it right. He'd done it before. Never lost. The night he posted the notice, the storm knocked out power for 6 blocks. Marcus climbed the dark stairs with a maglite, taped the red paper to her door, and pounded 3 times. Latrice opened immediately, like she'd been standing there. The boys hovered behind her in pajamas. "You can't do this in a storm," she said. "Notice says dawn. After that, locks change. My kids have school tomorrow." "Not my problem." He turned to go. Her voice stopped him cold. "You'll regret this, Marcus Hale. I promise you that." He laughed, but it sounded hollow even to him. Old Mrs. Jenkins cracked her door on the 2nd floor. "That's a widow and orphans you're putting out, Marcus." "My building," he grunted. "God sees everything," she whispered. Marcus drove home through sheets of rain, radio off, Latrice's eyes burning in his mind. He didn't sleep. Next morning he arrived at 8 a.m. sharp with Tony the locksmith and 2-day laborers paid $20 an hour cash. Ready to clear 3A. But a black Mercedes SUV was parked out front. 3 people in sharp suits stood on the wet sidewalk with Latrice and the boys. The tall woman in the gray wool coat held a thick leather folder. Marcus stormed up the steps. "This is private property. You need to leave." The woman extended a manicured hand he ignored. "Marcus Hale? Cassandra Whitfield, Real Estate and Trusts Counsel. I represent the Latrice Evans Family Trust, legal owners of this property." He barked a laugh. "Nice try. Get off my land before I call the police." Cassandra handed him the folder without a word. He opened it on the hood of his truck. Cook County Recorder of Deeds stamp. Quitclaim deed executed April 12, 2024. Property transferred from Marcus J. Hale to the Latrice Evans Family Trust for $10 and other good and valuable consideration. His signature. Notarized. Witnessed. His knees went weak. "I never signed this." "You did," Cassandra said calmly. "At the closing for your cash-out refinance on the 71st and Halstead 4 flats. You were rushing to the White Sox home opener. Signed a stack of documents without reading. Standard for you, I believe." Memory flashed. His attorney Steve Kolsky, drinking buddy, golf partner, sliding papers across the table. Routine stuff, Marcus. Portfolio cleanup. Sign here, initial there. He'd been late for the game. Scrolled his name without a second glance. Steve died last December. Heart attack at 58. Marcus looked at Latrice. She stood with her arms around Jamal and Malik, face unreadable. "You set this up." "At first I just wanted to survive," she said quietly. "After Donnell died paying your rent, after you threatened to throw us out over $400. I talked to my sister." Cassandra nodded. "I reviewed Mr. Hale's leases. Found patterns, backdated fees, questionable late notices on other tenants. We formed the trust. Waited. Paid rent, documented everything. When Mr. Hale refinanced last year to cover gambling debts and a bad flip in Austin." "I don't have gambling debts." Cassandra raised an eyebrow. "Your marker at Horseshoe Casino says otherwise. $42,000. Marcus felt the blood drain from his face. She continued. Your attorney needed signatures fast. One document transferred this building to satisfy an old debt you didn't even know existed. Medical bills from Donnell Evans that you quietly purchased through a Shell LLC in 2022. Planning to use them as leverage later. Marcus's mouth opened, closed. Latrice stepped forward. You've been our tenant for 14 months, Mr. Hale. Rent deposited into the trust account. And you've been late 3 times yourself, May, August, and October. The laborers shifted awkwardly. Tony cleared his throat. Marcus? We're still doing this. Marcus couldn't speak. Latrice looked at him for a long moment. You have until dawn tomorrow, she said. After that, your belongings go to the curb. The fallout came fast. Marcus spent the afternoon in his office calling every attorney he knew. Burned through favors. One by one they called back. Deed was ironclad. Recorded properly. Consideration valid. Signature undisputed. He tried to claim duress, fraud, undue influence. Nothing stuck. The bank called 2 days later. His other properties were cross-collateralized. Margins razor thin. One missed payment and the dominoes fell. By June he'd lost 3 buildings to foreclosure. He moved into a studio in Englewood, 400 square feet, roaches, radiator that clanked like a dying animal. Rent $850. Due on the 1st. No grace period. Some nights he drove past 63rd Street. The changes were small at first. Fresh paint on the front door. New mailboxes that actually locked. The busted street light out front finally replaced. Then bigger things. New windows in every unit. Central air units humming in summer. A fenced playground in the back lot where weeds and needles used to rule. Mrs. Jenkins invited him in for coffee once when she saw him parked outside. Them boys playing out back now, she said, pouring from an old percolator. Latrice got a grant from the city. Turned that mess into a garden. Tomatoes, peppers, even roses. Marcus stared into his cup. She didn't quit her jobs, Mrs. Jenkins continued. Still at the hospital days, cleaning nights. Says owning don't mean resting. He left without finishing the coffee. One August evening, thunder rumbling again, Marcus sat in his studio with a bottle of Old Grandad. The eviction notice he'd served Latrice was pinned to the wall like a trophy he hated. His phone rang. Unknown number. Yeah? Mr. Hale? Latrice's voice. Calm. Familiar. He froze. I just wanted you to know the boys asked about you today. Wanted to know if you were okay. He laughed, bitter and cracked. Why the hell would you care? Because carrying hate is heavy. I got kids to raise. A building to run. A life to live. Silence. My sister found something in the old files, she went on. A life insurance policy on Donnell. $25,000. You were the beneficiary, paid the premiums yourself after he died. Keeping the debt alive, maybe. Marcus closed his eyes. We're cashing it, she said. College funds for Jamal and Malik. Thunder boomed outside his window. Take care of yourself, Mr. Hale. Click. He sat there until the bottle was empty. Years passed. The neighborhood changed. Not overnight, Chicago doesn't work that way, but slowly. Crime dipped. Families stayed. The building on 63rd became the one people pointed to when they talked about what ownership could do. Jamal graduated high school with honors. Got a scholarship to UIC. Malik played varsity basketball, dreamed of architecture. Latrice still worked. Promoted to shift supervisor at the hospital. Still cleaned offices some nights, not because she had to, but because she refused to forget where she came from. Marcus faded. Stopped driving by the building. Took odd jobs, handyman work, mostly. Lived quiet. Drank less. Some say he sent an anonymous donation to the building's youth program every Christmas. Others say it's just a story people tell to make the ending softer. But the truth is simpler. Justice doesn't always roar. Sometimes it waits. Sometimes it signs its name on a line you were too arrogant to read. Sometimes it plants roses where only weeds grew before. And sometimes, on stormy nights, a mother stands on the steps of a building that tried to break her family, and smiles. Because the storm passed. And they're still standing. If this story of quiet, patient revenge, of a black family refusing to be broken by a system that too often crushes them, left you speechless, angry, hopeful, all of it, then do us both a favor. Hit that subscribe button right now. Turn on notifications. Because every week we dive into the darkest corners of America to bring you the stories the headlines miss. Predators who finally fall, survivors who rise, and the chilling, satisfying moment when the tables turn forever. We're building a community that demands better. Join us. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What would you have done? See you in the next one. Stay safe out there, family.